Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, welcome to the panel regarding the World Business Angels Forum regional report about Southeast Europe. This is the report I'm holding in my hand. First of all, I would like to thank to the authors of this report, which are not present at the moment, the team of Professor Ketikidis. And I would like to present the panelists. So we have Michael Gold, from Crimson Capital, a person that is deeply involved in several countries within the region and has insight about it. Then we have Renata Brkic coming from Croatia, Social Impact Hub Professor Baltazar, also a very knowledgeable person and a person that can share some important insights with us as well. And last but not least, Mr. Aletin Berisha, entrepreneur, university teacher and founder of KOSBAN, which is Kosovo Business Angels Network. Again, a person that is involved in the Balkan region, can share some insights with all of us. This report, or actually the overall VWBF 2017, highlights a couple of things. Highlights first innovation, then access to capital, and number 3, highlights entrepreneurship. That is, all the theoretical findings and practical experience shows that entrepreneurship is a catalyst of growth. But again, entrepreneurship is scarce. Peter Drucker is claiming that only 2 to 3% of the population are entrepreneurs. In that context, we need to do whatever it takes to foster entrepreneurship, to promote it, and to somehow assist it. The situation in Europe is not that favorable, and especially is not favorable in our part of the region. One of, actually, the 3 key conclusions of this report, which you can find in your bags that you received, are that there is unfavorable investment culture, then issue of intermediary institutions and best practices, and finally, government support. Within the report, lack of entrepreneurship skills is a significant issue. Up to a certain extent, the way how entrepreneurial and educational institutions are teaching entrepreneurship is also questionable. I would like to ask Mr. Berisha, having in mind his background, what do you think, what should be the proper way how entrepreneurship should be taught at the universities in the region, and what kind of a link should we have between educational institutions and business sector?
Thank you, Ivan. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So I hope it's not as boring as it can sound initially, but Southeast Europe is really cool. I mean, it's really interesting. We are all former communist countries. So I'm starting with that to tell you that entrepreneurship, it's quite a new thing. It's quite a recent thing. It's 25 years, 27, 28 years thing. So we are used, our mindset works in a very different way. That's first. Second, universities for ages have been working under this socialist Russian-style system where the smart guys are within the boundaries, within the walls of these universities, and the people are out there. So it's very isolated, nothing has to do with the society. And same with entrepreneurship. Even today, when universities teach entrepreneurship in most of the universities in Southeast Europe, it is merely a business plan class, nothing to do with the local ecosystem, not supported in any other way. So that is unfortunately still the case in most places. But there are some good developments. There are universities who are every day more and more become more entrepreneurial universities themselves, and also fostering an entrepreneurship culture within their institutions. In my case, I run one of the most entrepreneurial schools, I would say, in the region, and for many years we have been in the part of this ecosystem. So there are several institutions, and I'm very proud to say that the university I run is one of these institutions who have been fostering this entrepreneurial ecosystem. We still don't have incubators in most places. I mean, for example, in our case, we're just restructuring and creating a new hub with an incubator, with a maker space, with mentors, network, and obviously as KOSBAN, as Kosovo Business Angels Network, we will also be there to support and invest in those ideas. But our aim is not merely to create bankable businesses, as Michael would say, or startups who could straight up become successful startups. It's more of to educate them, even if they fail, and most of them will fail. We're okay with that. But we will, teach them the first thing, and we will teach them their first failure, I would say. But we're also working, for example, we signed today an agreement with Istanbul Technical University, Ari Technokent. They have one of the biggest, technoparks, entrepreneurship centers, and accelerators here in the country. So those who are more prosperous, we could, send to, for example, to Istanbul to be part of their accelerator and then go on. But basically, there is still a lot to be done. The first steps are being taken.
Regarding failure, one of my favorite quotes ever is the quote from President Mandela: "I never lose. Either I win or learn." So that is something that we should all develop. One of the aspects within the WeBuff regional report was A, insufficient availability of finance, and B, on the opposite side, was demand for investments. Demand for investments in the context of investors not seeing entrepreneurship as a proper field for investing, and the lack of startups ready to invest. Having in mind that Mr. Gold has a significant experience within Kosovo, Albania, Macedonia, Czech Republic, and around the region, what is your opinion? How can we solve that? What are the aims, targets? What should be done?
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. This is a topic that's very dear to my heart. Since in just the last 13 years, Crimson, through our finance funds, have financed now over 1,000 companies in Macedonia, Kosovo, and Albania. So we're very close to the businesses, and we understand them quite well. These are small and medium enterprises, and we're one of the few institutions that finances startups. The startups and early stage companies are a minority, small part of our portfolio, but nonetheless, we do it. The problem really stems from a lot what Alton was saying about the mindset. There's still the notion of a command economy, where some big power somewhere tells you what to make and how much to make, and then you make it, and then a truck backs up and picks it up. And so there are not people that are market oriented. So even entrepreneurs that come up with an idea, they say, oh, here's this great idea, and they haven't bothered to even Google it to see what else other people are doing, or ask the single business or person, would you buy this? If I could give you this fantastic product or service, would you buy it? They don't think to ask that, and that's where I think a big gap is. We have to help entrepreneurs, young people, and even some of the established businesses focus more on the market. Start there. What does the market need? And that's important. And that gets to the aspect of finance, because we get a lot of businesses that come to look for finance for us. And I say, well, where are your orders for your product or your service? And they say, well, we don't take orders for product or service because we can't finance it because we don't have money. I go, no, you're not going to get finance unless you have orders. I mean, you have to start with that. And in most businesses that come to us, if they actually have real live orders for their businesses, we can often find a way to finance them. And that's where there's a big gap. Relative to the real question that's involved in this conference, which is angel investment and similar types, typically equity investment, in Southeast Europe, people don't really understand what that is. They know they either use their own money, they get it from their uncle, or they borrow money. They get loans, either unofficially or from banks.
Or a grant.
Or a grant, yeah. And that's another thing that we have had way too many donors giving there is a place for grants, but just money just thrown at businesses, whether entrepreneurs or existing businesses, without checking if that money is going to really help that business grow and employ people in local production, distorts the market. It gets people, oh, I just want a grant. I don't want a loan, or I don't want an equity investment. So part of what we need to do is educate entrepreneurs and businesses as to what equity investment is and what are the benefits, and how angel investors can provide money, but they can provide access to the market. They can provide help with human resources, improving product quality, finding partners. That mentoring is important. And one thing that Alatin said about the education is, in these countries, I see a lot of programs, quote unquote, for entrepreneurship. But as he said, a lot of them are write a business plan. And the problem is, most of the people that are helping you write the business plan have actually never been in a business, had to make payroll, sell a product. And so that's where angel investors can come in, because they bring that knowledge and they can actually help a business thrive. So as Alatin said, this market is new, it's emerging, but we see big opportunities, and we're starting to see entrepreneurs with the right little bit of help that can both access finance and grow.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that has also been highlighted in this report refers to culture and values. What are and what should be the cultures and values when entrepreneurship is about, and how can we change negative and shady perception of entrepreneurship, and what, for example, Social Impact Hub, Balthazar, and similar initiatives can do to change it? Ms. Brkic, the floor is yours.
Yeah, at the moment they might go for a revolution in the streets. But
not a bad answer.
I will tell you about Croatia. Croatia is in a much better position than the other countries from the region, and this is to be admitted. Croatia has become a EU member since 2 years ago. It was also very late for us, but this changes a lot. It opens borders, and it opens you have a custom tariff system the same as another countries in the EU, and you have free movements of people and of talent. So this is a good thing. By entering the EU funds have become accessible for Croatian companies, although they have not been used almost at all. Almost at all yet, for another reason. And the other reason is that side that is similar to the other countries, and this is the bureaucracy and the government who doesn't cope, who doesn't think in a managerial mindset. And we have to say it here, and the corruption, which is still very present in Croatia. So from the entrepreneur side and then there is a great thing in Croatia, which is not good for the entrepreneurship in our views, and this is the beautiful coast. And this is like 4 months of a full tourist season, which brings you the money. You just need to lay down and collect it. So this is not good for the entrepreneurship, and the 40% of the GDP comes from tourism. And tourism is not, Croatians are not doing much. There are, okay, some investments have been attracted because of that, but we are still selling sun and sea only. But it's still, there is an influx of money. So the entrepreneurship is, you have two groups of people. One group is entrepreneurs by force and by need. These are the people who got unemployed after this stupid period of war and consequent years. There is a high unemployment rate in Croatia for a EU country of 17%, which is a shame. In a country of 4 million people, only 1 million work in the middle of Europe with these natural resources and perspectives I've just told you. So many of these people were entrepreneurs from need, and they started their businesses. They thought a lot. They have, of course, never heard of the possibilities of equity investments, angels investors. I'm telling you about the years 2000s. And they were doing well because there was access to finance. How? As soon as the war ended, the Austrian banks jumped into Croatia and they were offering credits for people on that wave before the 2008. Now, many of these businesses are actually in a situation of a bad debt, and they are developed businesses, and they would be now in a position to be a candidates to receive the seed investments in order to continue and to grow. So this is one group of entrepreneurs, and there is another brilliant group of entrepreneurs, and these are the young guys and girls from 20 to 35 years old who are who are very creative, who are very knowledgeable, and who don't see themselves as Croatians in the border or as Southeast Europe or whatever. The world is their platform, and they do a great business. And they are happy because now they are in the EU country members, so they can go to London, they can go to Hong Kong, they don't need visas for whatever, and this eases. But still, because of the situation, and these people are clever, and these people see that social changes will not happen within a year or two, as they didn't happen in the past 20 years. And the bad luck for the country is that they don't they don't want to wait another and spend their life there, and then they become the talent bought by everybody from the States to the UK and so on. But they are good. And there is a Business Angels Association, the Crane, you know about it. They organized the Winter Urban University in November. Many of you were there in Zagreb. And they really try hard to help these young tech entrepreneurs. They concentrate on tech. They believe there will be a unicorn company. But we in the Social Impact Hub, on the other side, we from our politics is very important to us. Our anger was big, maybe because we are women also. We went to the social impact projects, and we are working and fostering projects in science, in education, and this is how everything happened and emerged with our hub. So we've been doing it for 5 years, and we have some amazing bankable but socially responsible products that will make money, that will not become unicorns, but they will make millions.
So you're one of the tides of change.
That's it, yes.
Good.
But we also are not concentrated only in Zagreb or in Croatia. I mean, we really work all around the world.
Good, thank you. Even though we don't have much time, I would like to pose one of my favorite questions ever. And that question in particular was emphasized in this report. And I would like to ask you, all of you, for a relatively brief answer. What should be the role of government in this context? Just disclaimer from my side, I'm a libertarian.
Yes, me
so
too.
It's up to you to say briefly what should be the government's role. Michael, would you like to?
Yeah, I would say since we have 3 financial institutions in 3 of the countries, I can say that one of the major things, which is probably consistent with your political leanings in many ways, it's very important that the government create the framework, but the framework should be as permissive as possible. So, for example, in most of the countries, all of the laws and regulations on finance are cut and paste from banks. And they're very stringent and very restrictive. Well, if you're a bank, and if I'm a bank and I take your money as deposits, well, you want to be able to get your deposits, right? Well, that's why banks are regulated. The main reason is to protect your money and the financial system, okay? But for non-bank financial institutions, which are really the ones that finance SMEs and companies with growth opportunities and startups and early stage, those restrictions are meaningless, and yet they're there. So in all the countries, I'll give you an example. In Macedonia, the Central Bank of Macedonia does not license and supervise non-bank financial institutions. Why? I know the governor very well. I was sitting in his office having coffee, and I asked him the question. And he said, why would we? Our job is to protect the financial system and the public. Mike, we love your fund in Macedonia, and you invested your money. You lend to people. It's great. You create jobs. You create local production. And if they don't pay you, you lose your money. Well, that's too bad. But why is that my problem? It's like if you open a cafe bar and nobody comes and has coffee. But the problem is the restrictions are so tough that a lot of people that would come and set up commercial finance companies, leasing companies, factoring companies, equity funds, things like that, don't, because it's just so restrictive. And there's a jump, oh, let's write laws and, what I would do is say, don't suddenly make a lot of very onerous regulation and laws, but do what countries, especially the regulators, are supposed to do, which is risk-based supervision. Meaning, financial institutions that don't take money from the public and their failure wouldn't impact the overall financial sector, make them register their business, have a tax number, and if they invest their own money, basically just let them be. They will then come to these countries and they will lend to and invest in startups and things like that. And so the key is only have the regulation and restrictions that you actually need to protect somebody, and otherwise let business be business.
Thank you. Renata, what do you say?
Well, it should be simple, as Mike said. And it's not difficult, but you need not to look at your vested interest, and our government still does it. So they have failed to use the ESF money. I mean, there was a big amount of money. They have assigned it to the wrong, I'm telling you from the social impact component, they have assigned it to the wrong ministry, because this was like from the social impact fund, and they thought it has to do with the pensions, so they have assigned it to the pensions ministry, and they didn't, the bureaucrats, didn't understand, and now they will lose it. So, it's just the non-relevance of the bureaucracy, and this is a big problem in Croatia. So what we are doing now, we are putting together a social impact venture fund, New Europe, where we will we have registered the vehicle in London, but with the team in Zagreb, and we have the European Investment Fund as a 50% limited partner in it. We are now raising the match up to, we missed €6 more million, but we will get
Congratulations.
it. Yeah.
You raised already.
The only requirement is that we invest in the social impact companies in the New Europe, in Croatia. But we didn't need to. So they are already clever. They understood the problem. So they didn't force us to register the fund in Croatia or in any of the countries where there is no. So this is how we fight, and
good luck with the fight.
and we are happy, because then we will really use this money to invest in the social responsible companies, and these will be business companies and not grant receivers, like social companies in our region.
Which was mentioned at the
are
very
perceived
beginning,
as the NGOs.
NGOs or
Always
state.
wrongly taken.
My fellow free marketeer, what do you say?
Yes.
What do you think
You
role of the
remember,
government should be?
I said last year, I think I had the same question, and I will say exactly the same answer, and it's nothing. We have our minister here, but it's nothing. If you really want to do something, then, you want to spend some money, then put a fund, a matchmaking fund, 50%. But you make sure that you work with, I don't know, an angel investor network or something, and then with private people. So you match whatever the private people will put in. So in this way, I think your investment will be much smarter. With one person, you can control and do all of this, and that's it. I think we don't need anything else from the government.
Thank you. We have time for 1 or 2 questions. Okay, I don't see. Oh, please, sorry. We don't have a mic. We do have a mic.
I used to work on radio.
I know you're a good girl. You don't have to. I mean,
so
just
I like
for
mics.
just
Please,
to make
be brief, and ask any of us to be brief.
Yeah,
in
so
answers.
basically it's a question for all of you, because now I will speak from the
one,
perspective
please.
of investor and entrepreneur as well. So we like to say that business angel is also a mentor. It's a partner. He gives a different value to. He's different than VCs and stuff like that. And what was my problem in Croatia, for example, that there are tech companies with global potential, and there is only business angel investors with local success. So they don't have experience in international markets. And I don't know, to entrepreneurs, everyone always says just raise money, raise money, raise money. But sometimes it's better to wait for a while or travel somewhere else and find another investor, a mentor who can give a different value to your business. So I find that is a big problem with business angels in our region, in that region. So I want to ask you, like, is anyone doing something about it, and what's your opinion about it?
But please be brief, 1 sentence per person, but simple.
I will skip because of the time, maybe,
Okay.
Michael.
Brief, please.
Capital is global. I mean, capital is no longer local. So it's just like stock markets in Southeast Europe don't work because there's not a scale. So I think entrepreneurs in these countries should look regionally and globally, and they should look local. But if they don't find what they need, then they have to
beyond
look
the borders.
beyond borders.
Good. Thank you, Renata.
Yeah, I can only invite the experienced business angels and the people to come to the region and to discover the potential, because otherwise they're lost in.
Okay, thank you. Really briefly, just to try to wrap up what we said, one of the things that even the report emphasized, that values and culture should be emphasized and promoted more significantly. Importance of entrepreneurial education, promotion of good practices, and the role of government should be changed. I belong to ones that believe there should not be any spectacular role of government, but that's not important at the moment. And trying to answer to your question with very simple sentence, I think one of the initiatives is the one that brought us here in Istanbul, World Business Angels Forum, an attempt to have commissioners. And if the local commissioners and the local Business Angels Network do not have knowledge and experience to close, which they don't, an exit or a sale or whatever, then we have much more experienced business angels like Mr. Davis or others that can help and share their knowledge. So basically, I think this is one of the initiatives, or the initiative that can really help. My name is Ivan Jovetic. I'm an entrepreneur and co-founder of Montenegro Business Angels Network, and I had the tremendous pleasure to be moderator of this panel with Michael Gold, Renata Brkic, and Aletin Berisha. Thank you for the audience.
Thank you.
What a sum up,
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator.
Thank you for the question.
And my next conference.